So if we take $1 million and we let that ride in the stock market, who knows where it's going to go, right? Or if we put it in a CD, there's no money right now, or an annuity, there's no income in it right now. But if I take that $1 million and I invest it at 10% and I divide that by 12 months, I know I have $8,333 a month coming in every single month for the next 3 years, period. Hey, welcome to the Wealth Webinar Wednesday series. My name's Stephen Nagy. I'm filling in for Chris Naugle today, August 3rd, 2022. So we've had we just came off of a 3-day training we call the Money School Essentials event. It was up in Buffalo, New York. And we were up there with about 100 people. And we did it virtually where we had about 60, 70 people on virtually watching the entire weekend as well. And it was an excellent event. We were all up there together and we had a meeting of minds and experts. I mean, it really was amazing. You know, Chris was there, Brent Kessler, Justin Colby, Greg Hurling, Dustin, Devin Burr. The list goes on. Spencer Montgomery was there talking about crypto. We had Kevin Shortell teaching notes. We had all these different topics and all these different subjects on investing and building wealth and preserving wealth and paying less in taxes. And yeah, a ton of comments coming in, people that were there in person. Kevin said still recovering. Mary was there virtually and it was awesome. Janet's been listening to the replays. Carol said, enjoyed learning about the complex trusts and how are enabled to benefit the high net worth people. Absolutely. So it was a great time. All right. Awesome. So love the comments. I mean, I know I had an awesome time seeing everybody and, meeting everybody. Some people new in person for the first time, seeing people again. So it was a great time. So appreciate everybody being there. And it got me thinking though, over the last couple of days, what were some of the things that really drove the topics home? Like what were things that people were really interested in and stuff that can help right now with what's going on with this economy and the world that we live in? I mean, things aren't slowing down. Like we're continuing to pass bills in this country, spending more and more money. These tax institutes and things are coming out saying, hey, they say it's not going to increase taxes, but there are slight increases that are going to be incurring. And, I think we all know that. And you spend trillions and trillions of dollars, it's got to be paid for somehow. They're not fixing the tax code. They're not changing it to where, hey, actually the rich are paying more. No. They have all the same loopholes, all the same code is in there. And that's why people like Warren Buffett can make statements like, it's amazing that I pay less in taxes than my secretary. I mean, we had Solomon Holamani up there. And if you weren't watching live, Solomon doesn't record his presentation, but talking about 1041 tax strategies, for instance, and how those can basically eliminate your tax bill legally. He says there's 2 tax codes in this country, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. Both are legal. So just think about that right there. So all this stuff got me thinking, what are people looking for? And I've been having a lot of conversations. I was on the phone all day yesterday, helping people open up new banking policies and move their money over to self-directed accounts and taking back control of their money. And one of the things that happens is once you take back control of your money through these strategies that we teach, now you need to be able to go out there and actually deploy that money to have it grow for you, to have that money making more money for you. So that's what I decided to put today's training about. I want to talk about real estate and I want to talk about private money lending, because whichever side of the fence, whatever side of the coin that you're currently on right now, this is very, very important stuff. Whether you need money, whether you're looking to invest money and keep your money moving, making more money. What I'm going to show you here today is very, very important. I also have a couple special guests joining us. So at 1:30, I'm going to have my first special guest, and at 2 o'clock, I'm going to have a second special guest joining us today. These are people that you're going to want to meet, you're going to want to get to know, and you're not going to want to miss this. So make sure you stick with me right through the whole thing today, because we're going to be covering a lot of information. I want to introduce you to these 2 investors because they can make a huge difference in your financial life right now. So I just want to talk about what we're all about here at Money School. If anybody's new on here right now, if you haven't been following us, what we do is we teach financial strategies and financial topics. So when I say that, what we really do is we talk about what we call the 3 pillars of education. And we've boiled this down over years of experience. I was a financial advisor, fully licensed, Series 766, variable annuity insurance, the full 9 yards. I was a financial advisor for a couple of years out of college. and I was introduced into entrepreneurship and real estate, and ended up leaving all my licenses, leaving the traditional financial planning world, and getting into the real estate investment world. And that turned into finding my love and passion for coaching and teaching and speaking on stages. And, I've had the opportunity to do that for well over a decade now, and have traveled all over the country and have taught thousands of students. And a lot of you on here right now, I've taught you these very subjects and topics. And, what we do is we teach you how to take back control of your money and solve your money problem. And we do that through what we call these 3 pillars of education: and real estate, money, and legacy. And at the end of the day, I just want to hit on all of these real briefly, and then we're going to concentrate on real estate today, like I mentioned a second ago. So when it comes to money, this is kind of how all of this came about, because everybody has a money problem. And I started to realize this as a financial advisor, and it just really increased as I spent more and more time working with different types of people all across the country, because people in New York and California are much different than people in Kansas and Oklahoma, from a social standpoint, from a mindset standpoint, from all kinds of different standpoints, right? Just different ways of looking at life, different ways of looking at living. But at the end of the day, everybody deals with money one way or another, right? And what is money? Does anybody know what money is? What is money? At the end of the day, all money is a means of exchange. It's, what can I trade for whatever I want, whether it's a product, a service. The global currency, the global money right now is the US dollar. Maybe it won't always be that way. There's a push for a while. Maybe it becomes Bitcoin, where Bitcoin takes over as money that we use on a daily basis. But whatever it is, at the end of the day, that's all money is. So when we start looking at financial success and we start looking at reaching your goals, we need to find ways to have our money create a lifestyle for us when we get to retirement, where we have enough money to be able to buy and purchase those goods, services, and lifestyle that we want to be able to live in. So we need to start understanding money now, because we have to start building up this for retirement. Now, as a financial advisor, what I found is it was a difficult conversation to have with people, because I would meet with somebody and, I would say the first thing you say as a financial advisor is, tell me about you and tell me about your goals. What does retirement look like for you? In fact, I had a book at Ameriprise Financial that we gave to a client when we first met them, called The Dream Book. And it had you fill out this book. What are your dreams? What does retirement look like for you? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to, be able to go visit your kids and your family and grandkids around the country? What does that look like for you? Do you want to go on cruises? Do you want to have a second home? And people would write their hopes and dreams, right? And they would bring that to me. And then we would have a conversation. Okay, this is where you want to be. Now, where are you today? So what are you currently doing today? How much are you saving? Where are we investing? How are we protecting and preserving your wealth? And we would start to develop strategies to get them from today to where they want to be at retirement age. And unfortunately, through the traditional ways of investing, it didn't typically happen for that person. In fact, the Social Security Administration tells us, if we take 100 people at retirement age, 95 people either have to continue working or dead broke, meaning only 5% of people in this country at retirement age are going to be able to retire in the lifestyle and the way that they want to. In the richest world, with the most opportunity the world has ever seen, only 5% of Americans are going to be able to achieve that goal in retirement to live the lifestyle that they want. So I started to learn very quickly that something was very broken. And not only did the Social Security Administration say that, but I saw it personally. So what I would have to do is I would have to have a conversation with the clients. Okay, if you want to be able to achieve this goal at this age, we're going to have to make some changes. So we're going to have to change how much you're spending now, so that way you can save more money. Or we're going to have to take that money you're already saving and put it in more risky investments so you can try and get better returns, risk reward, take on more risk to hopefully get more returns or more rewards. So that way your money will grow faster to allow you to hit it at that age. Or if you don't want to do those things, then guess what? Instead of retiring at age 62, we're going to have your money have more time in the markets. So you're not going to be able to retire until age 65, age 67, something like that. So it was a tough conversation, because I had to kind of, what are your dreams? And then I almost had to like, it doesn't matter because you're not going to be able to do it. And so I immediately in a young age started realizing, hey, well, how are people successful? I live in South Florida. You see multi-million-dollar homes on the water everywhere, people living on the beach, people driving Lamborghinis and Porsches and all these Ferraris everywhere. They have these yachts and these motor yachts and these beautiful boats that cost more than most people's homes do. So I know it's possible. But, I didn't come from money. I didn't come from this kind of lifestyle and world. So, nobody taught it to me. So I started saying it was never taught to me in high school. It was never taught to me in college. So I started thinking like, well, what are we told to do with our money? And a great example of that is a 401k. Like, how much do you really know about a 401k? Well, when you first get a job, you're young, you go in, you meet with HR, they start talking to you about all your benefits, right? Your health insurance, your group life insurance that they give you. And then one of these benefits is a retirement 401k. And you say, okay, well, what's a 401k? And they say, well, you put your money in there and then, it grows for you, tax deferred. You don't have to pay taxes on it now. So you can lower your tax burden right now. So you start looking at it, okay, so I'm putting off paying taxes, but what do taxes do? Taxes always seem to go up, right? And then what am I doing? I'm putting my money into this 401k. And then 10 years from now, if I want to take that money out to buy a house with it or buy a rental property or, do something in my life, take a trip or travel with it or something like that, guess what? They're going to penalize me for pulling my own money out of that retirement account to use it in my own life. So I'm going to be penalized. So I'm giving up complete control of the money. And then they give you only specific options of what you can invest it in. So basically they allow you to invest your 401k in the stock market, or the stock market. Different types of funds, different types of, what that might look like. But at the end of the day, it's all the stock market. So if I want to go get into real estate and buy rental properties, do flips or something like that, I can't use that 401k money that I've been putting away saving. So we start to give away control of our money. We start to just not understand exactly what's good, but we all do it because why? That's what everybody else does. That's what has always been done. And we just kind of tend to go along with the flow. Well, if we look at reality, that just doesn't work. And so I started to learn that at a very young age, and I started to educate myself. So I started to learn from people like Robert Kiyosaki, and I started to study things like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And, through studying this stuff and implementing it into my own life, it started to open up new doors for me where I actually got to join the company that Robert Kiyosaki launched that was teaching his Rich Dad, Poor Dad system and the Cashflow quadrant to other people on how they can start, doing the same thing and learning about alternative investment. So I started going out and traveling and teaching this to other people and learning about public speaking and developing all of these new techniques and strategies, communication, how to talk with people, something that I learned in my real estate career. So all this stuff started to come together. And then over the years, I just continued to learn and implement and learn and implement. And then I learned, okay, well, that 401k that I had in the corporate world, well, when I left the corporate world, now I'm able to take that 401k and I'm able to transfer it into what's called a self-directed retirement account, where now I have that control of that money. So no penalties, no taxes for transferring this money from my 401k to a self-directed IRA, but now I have control of that retirement money at least. So now I'm able to go buy real estate with it. Now I'm able to go buy crypto with it. I'm able to go buy notes with it. I'm able to actively trade and actively control my money to grow it tax-free or tax deferred in that IRA. And then I can open up, or I can do a backdoor conversion with some of the money into a Roth IRA. Let me ask you this question. If I was to buy Bitcoin today, I don't know, what is it, around 25,000? I buy Bitcoin today for $25,000 and then Bitcoin skyrockets. Let's just say that everything works out like the Bitcoin people say it's going to work out. And in the next 20 years, that goes up to $500,000. My $25,000 investment goes up to $500,000. Well, if I did that with cash, and then when I sell it, I'm going to have a $475,000 tax burden when I sell that. Well, if I buy that today in my Roth IRA, $25,000 and it grows to $500,000. Well, when I cash that money out of my Roth, guess what? I will never pay a dime of taxes on that $475,000 gain. So at the end of the day, my $25,000 investment that might net $200,000 because half of it's taken in taxes with cash. Now I keep the full $475,000 profit because I did so within a Roth IRA. So my point of this is we need to start understanding the laws that are on the books in this country that we can take advantage of. Okay, so doing things like self-directed IRAs, backdoor conversions, getting our money in Roths and investing that way can make a lot of sense for a lot of people. And then when we look at legacy, one of the ways we can start developing a legacy that ties into money in real estate is that we can start doing things like becoming our own banker. So you see on my hat right here, BYOB, be your own bank. What this is this is something that we teach called the infinite banking concept, otherwise known as privatized banking. And what we do is we take a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy. That's right, a whole life insurance policy. And that's where we store our wealth. So what we do with our money, and what we're going to teach you how to do is instead of taking my money and putting it into a savings account or a business account or a checking account at a traditional bank like Wells Fargo or Chase, well, I take my money and I put it into my own bank. And by changing that one thing, where my money goes, it's not hard. Your money has to go somewhere, right? It either has to go under a mattress, into a traditional bank, or into my own bank. But by making that one change where my money goes first, it literally changes everything. Because putting my money into this whole life policy first creates what's called uninterrupted compounding interest. Okay. And there's two, if you get nothing else out of today, I really, really, really want you to write these two things down here, right here. And I want to keep these in mind. Okay. So these things two right here. Two laws of wealth. Number one, compounding interest. Albert Einstein said this. He called it the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it use it. Those who don't pay it. Uninterrupted, guaranteed compounding interest for the rest of your life. How's that sound? That's what the privatized banking, that's what the specially designed whole life policy allows us to do, is it allows us to flow our money and take advantage of this perpetual tailwind of our finances through uninterrupted compounding interest. And it doesn't stop there, because the second law when it comes to building wealth is keeping your money moving. So money movement and flow. Money sitting still is losing. Money in motion is making more money. Okay. So very simply put, let me just give you a real simple example of how this works right here, okay? So this specially designed whole life policy that we use for this concept, the reason we use whole life, why do we use whole life to do this? Because the government allows us to. The IRS has rules on the books on how these whole life policies function. And what we do is we design them to go right up to the limit. We never cross that line, because we always want to stay 100% compliant and legal, but we push it right up to that limit. And that limit, that line that the IRS draws for these things, it's very, very high. And why do they make that line so high? Because this is what wealthy people do. This is what the banks do. Let me talk about the banks for just a second before I show you how this makes all the difference in the world by just changing where your money goes first, okay? When it comes to the banks, all we're doing is mimicking what the banks do. Do you know where the banks keep their money? So you research this if you want. The banks, so I'm talking about traditional banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, all the big guys, right? Their M1 money supply is in two places, like something like 95% of it is in two places. Do you guys know where they are? These two places? Number one is whole life insurance policies. That is why when you go in a bank, almost everybody is a vice president, right? Because by that employee being a vice president, it gives the bank a vested interest in that individual, and it legally allows them to buy a whole life policy on that individual. So if banks are putting their money in whole life, do you think it's maybe something we should be doing too? Do banks know how to make money? Absolutely. Banks work off of spread, which is what we teach also. And I'm not teaching about banking here today. I taught all about it last night on our Tuesday webinar. I'm happy to send you a recording of that and guide you over to the presentation. Just put it in the chat box or text me or email. I'll put my text and email in a minute, and you guys send me a message and I'll send that to you. But this is what banks do. You know, the number two place where banks have all their money, their M1 money supply, almost all of it, the number two place is real estate. Think about it. Where are branch offices? Everywhere. You drive down the road, there's branch offices every few miles. You go into any major city in the world, and one of the largest, most beautiful skyscrapers, what name is at the top of those buildings? It's almost always a bank. We were at a Lafayette Life Insurance Company meeting, myself, Devin, Chris, Brent, and it was in Palm Beach, Florida, right on the beach. And so we went and we drove by Worth Avenue. one of the richest, kind of like Beverly Hills, Worth Avenue, Palm Beach, where all the big money in the country is, right? And we were driving down, and it was so funny. We were in like a luxury bus because we were headed to a culinary tour, and everybody's looking out the windows like, look, there's Morgan Stanley, there's Merrill Lynch, there's Wells Fargo, there's Bank of America. All these buildings and beautiful old structures on Palm Beach are all these financial institutions and banks because they're buying that real estate. Why? Because that real estate's making a lot of money for them in appreciation. There's one thing that there's not going to be any more of. I love the argument for Bitcoin. And especially for Bitcoin, right? Is one of the arguments for it is there's 21 million of them and they're never going to make any more of them. There's a limited supply. Once they're mined, they're mined, and there's never going to be any more. So there's no way to make it inflationary because it's a set amount, right? Well, guess what else that applies to? Land. There's only so much land. There's only so much real estate. And if you really want to talk specifics, there's only so many major cities, land within these cities and nearby. There's only so much waterfront property. Why do you think I love Florida and investing and doing real estate in Florida? There's only so much waterfront property. That land is going to be some of the most valuable land in the world hundreds of years down the road from now, right? So this is all stuff. So this is why the banks do this. So the banks are doing this is why we teach this stuff also. We mimic, infinite banking, using whole life policies this way, buying and investing in real estate. This is not new. This is nothing we invented. Brent Kessler, Chris Naugle didn't invent the infinite banking concept. It's been used for over 200 years. It's been used by the Rockefellers, the JPs, the Morgans, the Chases for over 200 years. All we've done is we've learned how anybody can use this exact same strategy to change where their money flows to be able to increase everything that they're already doing. So this is all we're doing, guys, is understand money so you understand where your money is so we know how to flow that money and take advantage of this stuff. Should we flow it into these retirement accounts to take advantage of tax-free growth? Should we flow it into these policies to take advantage of uninterrupted compounding interest while simultaneously being able to pull that money out and keep the money moving? Because that's what we do with these whole life policies. Not only do we put the money in and get tax-free, uninterrupted growth, we simultaneously pull that money out and use it and keep that money moving and keep that money growing for us and making more money. So just wanted to kind of show you guys real fast where all that comes together. And then the legacy aspect, when it comes to legacy, it's one of those things where we want to be able to leave our loved ones with more than, with assets, with something that they're going to remember us by, as opposed to like debts and obligations where they're like, man, that's not what I want to be remembered for, right? So we want to start setting up our families. So by following these techniques, we're able to create these legacies, not only through these whole life policies, but by obtaining these assets like real estate that create cash flow, create appreciation. I had Larry Steinhaus on with me this morning, which Larry Steinhaus is a powerhouse in the education field. He's been investing for a long, long time. Very smart guy. He runs something called Investor Schooling. Go check it out. Go to contactlarry.com. But Larry Steinhaus, he was talking, about, all this stuff also and how it all comes together. So when it comes to legacy, he says, he wants to kind of leave problems for his family. But what he means by that, he's going to leave them hundreds of properties. And his problem when he leaves those is they can figure out what to do with them. So instead of leaving millions of dollars, he's going to leave a bunch of property and let them fight over it, which is kind of funny because he's still leaving them with a positive, but in a way that makes him feel like he's like, and if you know Larry, then that makes a lot of sense right there. So with all that being said, it brings me to a story. And the story started about 3 years ago when I was, I'd been introduced to Chris. And it's when I went out and met him for, I believe, the first time at a live event. This was in Phoenix, Arizona. And we were sitting at the bar because Chris and I enjoy at the end of a long event or after speaking, we like going to the bar and grabbing a cold beer. And, what I found from going to events is it's one of the best ways to meet the other speakers and meet some of the other, people that are there is, sitting at the bar around a drink or something. So, him and I were sitting there and we started talking about money and real estate. And, we have very similar backgrounds. Chris was a financial advisor for many, many years, got into real estate investing, flipped hundreds of houses, started his own show, and started teaching others and started Flip Out Academy and everything that Chris has done. So we had a similar background. And when you have a similar background, you tend to start to know some of the same people and things like that. So, through a mutual business partner, a friend of ours, that's how Chris and I first met. And so I was with Chris at this bar and we were talking, and he was like, Steven, something that I've really started to get into here in the last couple of years of my life is being my own bank. And he started telling me a little bit about becoming your own bank and what the infinite banking concept is, and how you can control your money and what to do with it, and all this stuff. And I at the time didn't know anything about the infinite banking concept. So these specially designed and engineered policies, even though I sit here today, I've started plans for over 1,000 people. I was just doing the math the other day. I've started plans for over 1,000 people now. I have multiple policies myself now. I run a lot of money through them. I use them every single day. I do trainings on them. I'm licensed in all 50 states plus DC. But 3 years ago, I knew nothing about it. Chris started telling me about it, and he's like, and so that was kind of my first introduction, and I started learning more. But what really struck me on this conversation that I had with Chris right then was how he told me that he was starting to transition away from active real estate, and he was transitioning more into passive real estate. Now, I had always known about private money lending and passive income, but I never really looked at it the way that Chris started to talk about it. And so Chris started to say, hey, I've been lending a lot of money lately, and I've been keeping this database of people that I'm lending to. And I've had more people coming up to me saying, hey, would you like to lend money to me on my deals? And he said, sometimes he'd get into a situation where he had money to lend and he didn't have a deal available. So he goes, Steven, he goes, I had a really good idea. He goes, when I was a professional snowboarder, he said, I used to, he was single at the time, right? So when he was a professional snowboarder, he would go to different cities. He would go to Aspen, and he would go out to Lake Tahoe, and he would go to different mountains around the country to do tournaments, to do professional, to do snowboarding competition. And he said whenever he was in these cities, he always used an app on his phone, and it was a dating app. And because he would want to hang out with girls and stuff when he was there, so he would hop on this dating app wherever he was, and he'd be able to flip through and he'd, find girls and say hi, and they'd reach out to him, and he could find people to hang out with that way. So he said, one day it struck me. He goes, I was thinking about where can I find my next real estate deal, but I was traveling, so I couldn't just do a RIA or something like I normally do at home. He goes, so what if there was an app where I could open up my phone and I could find real estate deals instead of looking for women? He's happily married now. I'm happily married now. So instead of looking for women on the app, we could go on there. We could look for deals. We could look for different real estate that we want to lend on. We could meet new people that way. And so he started looking, okay, how can I do this? And he found, guess what? There's nothing out there like it. There's no other platform that allows you to do this. So this was the beginnings. He was literally drawing this out for me on a napkin at the bar, like one of those bar napkins. And so from that conversation right there, he and I started talking more and more and more about it. And then over time, about 2 years ago, we launched the beta version of what is now known as the Private Money Club. And so the Private Money Club over the last year and a half or so has ran, I don't know, probably over $20 million through it. There's been hundreds of deals funded through it. I mean, I was just talking to one of our clients yesterday that he has money out with 23 or 26 different loans right now that he's ran them all through the Private Money Club. My family has personally invested close to $2 million through different deals in the Private Money Club. And so we developed this Private Money Club where no matter who you are, you can go on there and you can start taking advantage of things like private money lending. And so when it comes to private money lending, it's really solves two different problems if you think about it. If you take a coin, though, there's two sides of that coin, right? You have heads and you have tails. And this is what represents the people that are in the Private Money Club. So on the heads tail, what we have people that have money. Okay. So these are people that have careers, they've done well in life, whatever the case might be. Maybe you have an old 401k and you want to take control of it. You just don't know what to invest in, right? And you don't have time to go out there and get into active real estate investing. You don't want to go out there and do wholesaling or flips or buy rental properties or something like that, right? So you have somebody that has money. They just need to find a way to get that money moving for them to make more money. And then on the flip side of that coin, you have somebody that has the time. They have the hustle. They have the determination. They want to go out there and start making money for themselves. Maybe they don't have a lot right now, or maybe this is just something they've always wanted to do, or maybe they, make 100 grand a year right now, but they got some extra time and they want to go out there and just start, multiplying their income through creating additional income streams through wholesaling or flipping or whatever the case might be, right? But the bottom line is they need to go out there and get real estate deals done, but maybe they don't have the money to do it themselves. Maybe they need the money. So if you think about a coin, like a quarter, there's the heads, there's the tails, but then there's also the outer rim of that coin, right? The edge. And the edge of that coin is where the magic happens. The edge of that coin is where that borrower and that lender can come together. And that's what the Private Money Club is. It's a community of like-minded individuals that are both borrowers that have deals available and lenders that have money available, whether that money is cash, whether it's a HELOC, whether it's equity, whether it's from a refi, whether it's from cashing out of stocks, whether it's in a retirement account, whether it's in a privatized banking policy. They got money, and they know that the number 2 law of creating wealth is to keep that money moving. So they need that borrower to lend the money. Whether you're looking for short-term, whether you're looking for long-term, whether you have $10,000 or whether you have $1 million, there's deals that are in the Private Money Club that will work for anybody. And so once we understand where our money is located, then we can understand how to start moving that money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a free copy of Chris's book, The Private Money Guide. So Chris wrote a book a few years back called The Private Money Guide, Real Estate Edition. And the education in there when it comes to private money lending is really, really, really good. So if you're new to borrowing or lending, you're going to want to start with this book called The Private Money Guide. And you can buy a hard copy of it on Amazon, and you can actually, we'll actually give you a free hard copy of it if you pay shipping. But if you want a digital copy of that book, just go to the website I put in the chat box, moneyschoolrei.com/Nagy, and it will automatically email you a digital copy of not only the Private Money Guide, but also Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, the book that Chris and Brent wrote on the infinite banking concept. So you can start getting educated on the infinite banking concept as well. So if you go to that website right there and put in your information, it'll automatically send you those. And then if you just email me, if you need anything else, just let me know. So Jack Petrick is an investor that I met several years ago at a real estate mastermind. So, over the weekend, we had a bunch of experts and speakers at our event, and somebody wrote in the chat box, and this has stuck with me. Somebody wrote in the chat box, did you guys vet and do you vouch for all the speakers and experts that are here this weekend? And the answer is absolutely. Okay. All of the speakers that we bring to the Money School community are people that we have known for years, that were vouched to us, referred to us by people that we trust and do business with, are people that we personally do business with, are people that have helped a bunch of our students and clients already, and that have years and years of experience. And Jack Petrick is one of those people. Jack I met several years ago at a mastermind, and he, at the time, was real big on apartment complexes. So they were buying 80, 100, 150 unit apartment complexes. They were doing value adds. They were getting them rented out, and they were burning them out, cashing their investors. And Jack did this for a long time, has a ton of experience. And then Jack, when he started to see the market turn a little bit over the last several years, they started to see all the hedge funds coming in, and the apartment complex market became very, very competitive. And so they started to not be able to get the buys they were getting, and financially it just didn't really make as much sense. But they saw a huge opportunity in single family affordable housing, especially here in Florida. So what they did is they created a partnership, and I'll let Jack tell you more about this story, but essentially they created a partnership with one of the largest home builders in the country, and they went in and they started doing these new construction builds. And so I'll let Jack take over from here, but it's really amazing. So for the last couple of years, this is what they've been doing. A bunch of clients in the Private Money Club have been lending money to Jack and have been super happy with the transaction, with the returns, and how everything's happened. So Jack is what we consider one of our VIP borrowers within the Private Money Club. And then I'll talk more about that once Jack hops off of here, because we only have Jack for about 10 minutes here. But Jack, how are you? Thanks for jumping on.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. My Wi-Fi is getting rebuilt in my house right now, so I had to get to an area which I had some reception. So thank you very much for having me on. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, Jack. You always make it happen, man. I love it.
Absolutely. So yeah, just what Stephen was saying before. So when I first started in the business back in 2008, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was a firefighter paramedic, and just wanted to create some other sources of revenue and income and passive income. which real estate is not passive if you're an operator, but that's kind of how it all started. So I started building new custom homes. I did that until sometime after 2008, when we had all the mortgage meltdowns and the crises that occurred. So we transitioned to buying extremely distressed single family properties. I did that for about 13 years. I made every mistake you can possibly imagine in that process, and then transitioned to apartments. We've got about 700 apartments. And like Stephen was saying earlier, what just ended up happening in 2020 is we just started seeing the rise in prices of everything. Rates were going to be going up. And as we stand today, rates have went up considerably. The price of apartments have doubled. Materials in some cases went up between 30 to 600%, depending on the item. And labors went up. So it just became too expensive. So I have two partners down in Central Florida, and we created a company called FO Pro Builders, and we partnered with a shell contractor called ODC Construction. ODC is located out of Orlando, and they're on track to build it's 12,000 homes this year. Last year they did something like north of 8,000 homes. So it's just a massive scale. So the largest builders down in those markets, like D.R. Horton, Lennar Homes, they do all of their construction services through ODC. So we were able to tag team onto that. So we have their buying power and their logistics, and it's been just an amazing opportunity. So we're focused on building in about 4 different areas: Palm Bay, Marion Oaks, Ocala, and Inverness. We're building basically starter homes, anywhere ranging between 1,300 square feet to 2,000 square feet. There's a lot of demand for that product in those markets. There's demand for baby boomers. There's demand for first time and second time home buyers. We don't want to be on the beach with like a, $6 million house. Like, that's just not the niche that we want to focus in. These houses could be utilized again for first and second time home buyers, for people that are relocating. There's been a tremendous push with hedge funds that have been coming down and buying property. And this is the market. This is the price points that they're buying in. These properties could also be used as vacation rentals or VRBOs or long-term rentals. So there's a multiple different exit plans that we have with these properties, and that's why we chose these locations and these price points.
You guys are on top of the market, and it's one of the reasons, right now, especially when there's so many things changing, there's
Yes.
a lot of unknowns, what's going to be coming up. One of the reasons why I love that you're in the private money club, and that the lenders that are in there have the opportunity to work with you, is because you have the experience. You've been through downturns in the past. You guys have kind of learned how to pivot and prepare for what's going to happen, and you're ready to go with it. So can you talk just a little bit about that maybe?
Absolutely. So FL Pro Builders, I'm one of 3 partners. I've got Jason and DK. Jason owns the real estate brokerage of which we're selling all of our properties. So he has his absolute ears to the ground. He's dealing with every buyer, every contract. He's looking at comps, days on market. We're reaching out to our lenders and finding out from them, like, what are the market conditions and what are you seeing? So like we're looking for as many data points as possible, just to be able to make the best educated decision as possible. In the years of doing this, we've made a lot of money. We have personally lost money in that process, but we have never lost money for investor. And that's just something we don't want to start that. So it's just been interesting when we talk to our main lenders. Down in our market in Florida, they're not seeing any slowdown in new construction in our market or with existing resale homes. But what they're seeing a big shift with is with home refinancing, which makes perfect sense. With rates rising, people are not apt to jump into a home equity line to pull equity out of their house. So that's where down in Central Florida, we're seeing some changes. When the interest rate hikes were being announced, one of the shifts that we made was going to a bit of a more of affordable model. So instead of building as many houses in the 2,000 square foot range, we pulled it down to about the 1,600 square foot range. So we wanted to be able to provide a 4-bedroom house, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage, and offer all the same amenities. But as the prices were going to be going up, we wanted to pull back on the pricing by just bringing in a more affordable price points. The other partner that I mentioned before was DK. He's also an attorney. So as far as, contract center, PPM, and looking at the risk in the market, attorneys, they look at things with a different lens. They always look at things at what is the risk? And they're always super hyper focused on that. So that's always been a real strength of DK, is on top of his knowledge as a real estate investor. Both Jason, DK, and myself, we all have been full-time real estate investors for over 15 years. So like Stephen has said before, we pretty much have done it. I'm not going to say all, but we've done a lot. Hundreds of house flips, wholesaling, multifamily construction, a little bit of development. So we really stay within our swim lane and where we really have a comfort level. When somebody gets involved in a business or in real estate, what ends up costing a lot of money is they don't know what they don't know. They haven't been through market cycles before. They haven't been through some of these more expensive lessons, whereas we have. One of the things that we strategically did in Florida, just to averse some risk, is we're buying individual freestanding lots. So down in Florida, it's kind of unique down there, where back in the 70s and 80s, there were thousands upon thousands of lots that were developed, which have streets, sewers, water connections, electric, like they have all the infrastructure, and those lots were sold off to investors because many, many years ago, the land in Florida was extremely affordable, and it still is today, but I'm talking like crazy affordable. So people were making money just by flipping and selling lots. So what's happening is there's been individuals that have owned lots in Florida for decades, paying taxes on them, and they've never built on them. So that's a lot of the buyers that we're specifically targeting to buy those lots. I live in Northeast Ohio, and that type of environment just doesn't exist up here. There's, large plots of land, but there's not developed lots where you could just go out and buy the lot and build. So most builders in my market and other areas, you have to buy many, many, many acres, up to hundreds of acres, and develop that land. But the risk of that is it takes an entire year to be able to get zoning approvals before you can even bring equipment back there and bring your iron back and start moving the material. So it's a year of permitting and processing. Then it could be every bit of a year up to get those sites improved. And that's when you can start your first model home. And then it takes years in order to build out that entire community and sell it. So if we get into a situation with the economy where we get into a recession like we're going to be going into, as a lot of people speculate, and interest rates going up, we don't want to be in a position where we're stuck on millions of dollars of overhead. So we're running very, very lean. Speaking of overhead, we only have one employee, which is Renee, who handles our investor relations. Jason, DK, and myself, we don't get paid until a property sells. So compared to a lot of other mid to larger size builders, it's not uncommon for them to have several hundred employees where they're running six-figure payrolls every month. We are running lean. We're really keeping an eye on the market as far as what does the market want, what can they afford, where are rates going. So those are just some of the things that we're doing to stay competitive and to stay in business during these times.
Yeah, it's awesome. And if you're watching right now and your head's like kind of blown a little bit, because I know mine was, it's just so much that goes into active real estate when you really do it the right way, especially in development, where it's good money, it's good protection, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. So, it's amazing to have somebody like you that's out there, making things happen. But, somebody like myself that has the money, but not the time or the wherewithal or the knowledge to be able to do everything that you're doing, can still get in and take advantage of these markets and of these deals that you guys are doing. So can we just talk for just a minute? What does it look like working with you? Like, well, how, or what amounts are you looking for? What percentage rates? What's the return look like? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. So we're paying our investors 12% interest. It's a double-digit rate of return, but it still allows the numbers to make sense on our end. Right now, if we were to get a construction loan, that's generally going to be a couple percentage points higher than what like a 30-year mortgage would be. Plus, there's additional bank fees and appraisal fees and just a bunch of garbage fees they add into it. So at the end of the day, for us to pay 12% and no fees compared to paying maybe 7%, 8% with fees, give or take who the lender is, it's really kind of a wash on our end. So, what we end up structuring the paperwork for is an investment period of 12 months. Most of the time, the investments are completed in less than 12 months. So what ends up happening is once that house is completed, we will wrap up the investment at that point. We'll pay everybody off. We'll return capital. And if everybody's happy how everything went, we can reinvest into the next project. So 12 months kind of is the end of the line, the balloon payment. But again, most of the time it's going to be wrapping up sometime sooner than that. How we structure is once we receive the investment capital, we make one payment in the very beginning, and that is for 6 months of interest. So we make that 6-month investment payment, and then we will prorate whatever balance of interest we owe at the end of the investment. We will wrap it up. So if the investment were to go for 8 months, hypothetically, they would get 6 months of interest up front, 2 months, and then the investment would complete, and we'd start at the next one if somebody was interested. Or if it went for a year, they would get 6 months and 6 months, however that kind of works out. As far as the minimum investment, we're a little bit different on that. We do not have a minimum investment. So through the years of doing this, and all the apartments I've purchased, I currently have probably closer to $12 million of investor capital that's in play right now. A lot of those investments came in at $100,000 per investment, but there's no pressure to come in at 100,000. If somebody wanted to come in at 20,000 and just start building the experience, the rapport, to us, that's what matters to us is that, once we have that experience, we have the rapport, they see the houses are real, everything makes sense and trust is built. Then what we have found is the next investments, people are investing a lot more and referring us to their friends and family. But if we don't if we don't build the relationship in the beginning, it doesn't, we don't get to have the benefits on the backside.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I love you being part of the private money club. I know a lot of the lenders have had great experience with you being there. Yes. So, Jack, you guys can find Jack in the private money club. If anybody's on here watching, maybe he's not in there yet, and maybe wanted to have a conversation with you, what's a good way to reach you?
Honestly, my cell phone is the best way to connect because I really prefer just to get on the phone with everybody and just explain my full background, who we are, what we do, and just take it down that path. And then I would like to hand them off to Renee. She can send over like investor packets, FAQ, investor references, and take the time that you need to get comfortable with us or anyone else that you're looking to do business with. I always tell everybody the biggest risk of an investment is the operator, which is me. My morals, values, and integrity is the most critical of that relationship. Secondly is that person's experience. How long have they been in the business for? What has the team done? Have they done things that have been similar to this, or is this a whole new venture they've never had experience with? And the third thing is then to look at the asset class itself. What is the risk of building, first time, second time properties within Central Florida compared to doing, a $4 million house in California? There's different markets, there's different considerations, and it does play a factor as far as the risk of the investment. But my cell phone number, we can leave it in the comments. We can put in the chat as well, but I'll just give it out to everybody. Yeah. It's 440-552-8483. I'll just repeat it again, but again, we'll put it in the comments as well. It's 440-552-8483. And Stephen, thank you for posting that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Jack. It's great to see you, man. We'll, have a great day. I appreciate you coming on here, and keep up the hard work. We love it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So as I was saying, we have, lots of different lenders or lots of different borrowers within the private money club. I just asked a couple to come on today just to so you can start to introduce them to you, and you can start to get to know just a little feel of, what people experience within the private money club. So, Jack is one of those borrowers that, they have their game plan, they have their business plan, him and his two partners. And by the way, I know DK and Jason both personally, also amazing people, very hard workers, and they are very, very smart and very good at what they do. So for me, it makes a lot of sense where, I'm very busy these days with money school, with the money multiplier, teaching money, traveling, doing networking events and things like that. So while I've done a lot of active real estate in the past, I don't do a lot of active real estate today. So for me, it's good to be able to get my money and move it to people like Jack, where I can take advantage of the deals, his knowledge, his experience, and have my money making good money. I mean, 12% returns. If I give Jack 100 grand right now, he cuts me a check for $6,000 and gives me another 2,000 or 3,000 at the end of it. So, and then, along with the 100,000 back. So it's a great, consistent, predictable income that I know I can have coming in that way. Through lending that way. So, on top of Jack, we have a lot of different types of deals within the private money club. And so just to give you an example, I have another investor coming on here. in just a moment. His name is Rob, and once he pops up, I will bring him over. But outside of people like Jack and Rob does developments, huge developments of rental communities that are sold, pre-sold to hedge funds. So he can tell you more about it. It's fascinating. But on top of that, we have a lot of individual deals. So I saw John Halter on here a minute ago. John Halter, if you're on, John and Lori, his wife Lori, they are in the private money club, both as lenders and borrowers. So John and Lori have lent money on some of these deals that I'm talking about right now. And John and Lori are also right now borrowing money. Actually, they just funded a deal. I think it was $430,000. Correct me if I'm wrong and you're listening, John, but they just secured $430,000 through the private money club, through private loans, in the private money club for a flip that they're doing up in Ohio on a lake. It's a beautiful lake house. So they're buying it. They have teams that are going to go in, they're going to rehab the entire thing, and then they're going to sell it. They're going to make a nice profit, and their investors are going to make a nice return on their money. That deal might get done in about 6 months. So when we start looking at different types of deals and what's going on in the markets, it's important to understand real estate, but it's more important to understand the person. So when you're on the private money club and you start looking at deals, what I always like to do is I always like to start with the person. Jack mentioned it earlier, the operator, the person's experience is big, because if you can trust the person, then no matter what happens, that they're going to be there to take care of you. That they're going to be there to be able to, pay you back, that you're going to get your money back, because they have different outs. They have different exit strategies. Or if it's somebody that's newer to borrowing, a newer investor, I'll still look at working with them, but I might expect better returns. Where someone like Jack, I get 12% returns with all his experience. Well, if I find an investor that's newer without that experience, maybe I want 15, 16, 17, 18% returns on my money. Maybe I want to charge them some points. So you can start negotiating a little bit what that looks like and what that contract looks like. So it creates a win-win situation for the lender and the borrower. And so let me show you an example real fast of a private money loan. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that there's different places where you can have your money. Okay. Whether it's in a retirement account, whether it's in a privatized bank, whether it's in cash or at the checking account, whatever the case might be. Well, let me give you an example of a private money loan through a money multiplier policy, one of those specially designed to engineer whole life policies. So this is what you see on the screen right here. Right here is the policy, okay? So this is where my money flows. So instead of my money flowing into a traditional bank, my money flows into my own bank, known as my money multiplier policy. Then what I do is I pull the money out of there. When I take the money out of my policy, I'm going to pay the insurance company anywhere from 3 to 5% interest, depending on the company. That money goes into what we call a segregated bank account, which is just a brief holding place for the money to go from my policy to go to wherever it needs to go. In this case, it's going to a loan to somebody that I met within the private money club. Let's say this is John and Lori Halter. Okay, they were paying 12% on their deal. Or let's say this was Jack Petrick. So my money goes to them. Now they're going to pay me monthly or quarterly, or in Jack's case, a couple lump sums of money. So as that money comes back to me, I'm going to take it. I'm going to pay back the interest to the loan. And then all of that profit is going to be, or all that spread is going to be profit that I keep. So this is exactly how banks work. So when you take your money and you give it to the bank, they're going to pay you, let's say 1% in a savings account, but then they're going to lend that money on a mortgage to somebody at 5%. And then they're going to make that 4% spread. And then they lend that money on a car note at 8%. Now they're making that 7% spread. So that's what we're doing. We're taking our money out of our policy. We're paying 4% for it. We're making 12%. So we're making an 8% spread on our money. The only difference here is that the money within this policy is also simultaneously compounding tax-free, uninterrupted for the rest of our life. Does that make sense? So this is how the money flows when it comes to a private money loan, for example, using a money multiplier policy. So let's see what that looks like financially speaking. So this right here is what we call an illustration. So when you start a policy, you're going to get what's called an illustration on that policy, and it shows you everything about it. So this is with Lafayette Life Insurance Company. So it shows the name of the age of the individual, the year of the policy, how much they're putting into it. So these premiums are what we call deposits. Okay. So you're going to deposit money into your policy. Well, this person, they wanted to deposit $150,000 the first year and then $50,000 a year after that. And then you'll notice in year 11, it goes down. But so they start putting money in. Now, this is profit that they have from their real estate investing that they do. So think about it. That money has to go somewhere, right? So if you were to sell a deal right now and make $150,000, where would you put it if you didn't have your own bank? Well, you'd probably go put it in your business account or in a savings account, right? So it sits there and it's ready for the next deal. Well, this is exactly what they're doing. The only difference is their money's going into their own bank, their policy. So they put the $150,000 in and then $50,000 a year after that. You'll notice over here, they immediately have $132,000 available, and each year it just grows more and more and more. So let's say we're in the 8th year of this policy, okay? The 8th year of this policy, their policy grew by $66,000. To get that $66,000 of growth within their policy, they had to inject $48,000 into it that year. So when I put $48,000 in, my policy immediately grows by 37%, $18,000, 37%. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, well, I want to do a private money loan. I want to lend money to Jack Petrick at 12%. So I take $100,000 out of my policy and I lend it to Jack Petrick. Okay. And watch this. If I was to take $100,000 from my traditional bank account and lend it to Jack Petrick, I'm going to make a 12% return annually on that money. Watch this. By taking that money and lending it from my own bank, I not only get the 12% for the private money loan, but I got the 37% growth within my policy over that year. Now I paid 5% to use my money to Lafayette, but it still left me with a net of 44% return that year on my money. So let me ask you this question. What would you rather make, 12% or 44% returns on your money? We didn't work any harder. We didn't work any longer for this. We didn't take on any more risk. We just changed where our money goes first. Does that make sense to you guys? And in essence, that is what privatized banking is. That is why we are our own banks. That's why we do and become our own banks, okay? And again, I'm not going through that whole presentation or anything right now. If anybody wants to learn more about the infinite banking concept, just shoot me an email or let me know and I'll send you over a recording, or you can join me next Tuesday, every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. I do a full presentation that teaches it from the beginning to the end, and you will know everything you need to know how to get started with infinite banking with that presentation. All right, so any questions so far on anything Jack said or anything that I've said? So Sid said, what is the collateral Jack offers for the 12? So the collateral is the property. So depending on how much you're lending, it's either the land that they're developing on, or it's the construction of the house itself. Okay. So that's what you're lending on. So that's what the money is secured by. Hey, there he is.
Sorry. I had some guys in my office, but I'm ready.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. So we've just been talking all about private money lending, why real estate, why we do what we do, especially flowing money through our banking policies first. I just had Jack Petrick on, who's another borrower within the private money club. And what Jack does is a little different than you, Rob, is he does single lots. So they'll go buy a bunch of single lots and then they'll develop little single family affordable housing and sell it off to an end user, somebody that wants to, first time home buyers, a lot of times, things like that. So in contrast, let's talk a little bit about what you do, because just so everybody knows real fast, Rob has, I don't know, how much have you raised for the private money club so far?
15 million, maybe.
Okay. So we've raised about 15 million through it so far, right around that. And so far, it's been an incredible relationship, and Rob's raised hundreds of millions of dollars over the years. So Rob, can you tell us a little bit about, what you do and what that looks like?
So I am a real estate developer. I at one point, 15 years ago, was buying single family homes, buying them as rentals, buying them as fix and flip. About 2015, 2016, we were buying about 30 homes every month, 30 to 40 homes a month. Renovating those and putting them, selling them to as flipped homes back to home buyers or institutional groups that were holding them as rentals. And then about 2016, we started making the transition to buying land. And we did kind of like Jack, where at first we were buying smaller lots and kind of piecing them together. But what we found is we buy a big chunk of land, entitle it, rezone, annex it, whatever we needed to do, and go and build an entire community of homes. We send out updates every month, but so these are some of our developments currently. So this is one project. These are retail. These are 218 homes on 825 acres. So it gives you some idea, but we send out updates with kind of progress and things like that. Here's another one. We funded this through Private Money Club. So it'll look like these homes to the right of it, but we're building 93 units right in here. That's all pre-sold to institutional groups. Here's another project. Again, kind of similar thing where we're developing the land right now. That'll be 53 homes. Phase 2 is 71 homes. Those are going to be sold to institutional groups as well. And it's one institutional buyer in each case. This one, same thing. This one's in San Antonio. The other two were so the first one was in Colorado. The next two were in Georgia. And this one's in San Antonio, Texas. We started this in September, October with the land development. And then this is where we're at in July, 96 doors, again, being sold to an institutional group that's buying all those. So we do these. This one is we break ground on Verde Commons in October at this point. Templeton Gap's a little further out. We're going to be annexing and rezoning and titling this. There's about 33 acres here. We'll put homes on them. It'll look kind of like these over to the left here. Single family homes. We're going to do townhomes in here. So we've aggregated these lots. So we've raised money through the private money club for aggregation of lots, and then we'll go in and we'll develop it, put 300 to 400 lots in there and build them as townhomes and either sell them to one institutional group or something like that. So kind of same thing. Bradley Ridge has 600 lots. Leland has 174. That one will break ground in probably October, November. This one's almost done. This was a development in California. It wasn't far from where I used to live, but these are some of the inside pictures of one of the homes that's finishing up. So we do these updates every month. We send those out. This development's again 174. So this is kind of what we do. We raise money and different phases will have different money requirements. Sometimes they get too big that we can't really raise $130 million through the private money club. So we'll raise it earlier. And some of the projects, if we're phasing it, we'll raise money for individual phases. This one's 174 homes. Again, we'll probably raise for this through private money club. We'll do phase 1, do the horizontal work, and then phase 2. And because of the way that it works, we can raise a certain amount as we build the homes, then we can move them onto a bridge line and recycle the money and use it over and over and over again. That's what we do. Those are some of our projects. We've got a few more that aren't on here. Covington Creek has a phase 2, and some of these other ones that Saddlehorn Ranch has 5 phases. And so a bunch of these have multiple phases. So we raise it kind of in tranches, which means just kind of like a slice of it as we move through it. That kind of, hopefully that helps to visualize what we're doing. We've got about 15 projects in our pipeline. One that's not on there is one that we'll raise for in the fall as well. It's near the Kia factory in Columbus, Georgia. It's like 98 doors. A couple more that are in and around those areas, but yeah, so that's kind of a high level what we do.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. So, I know you're in the private money club. People can reach out to you there, but what does it look like lending to you? Do you believe you guys, want at least 100,000 to work with, and then?
Yeah, because of the size of projects we do have a $100,000 minimum, which I realize is kind of high for many people, but it's just from a tracking perspective, it's easier for us. We're launching a portal this month where everybody will be able to go and see exactly how much has been distributed. If they want to change bank accounts, they can do that themselves. There's some software that's offered by institutional groups that do that, publicly traded companies. And so we're onboarding everybody to that. So they can always see kind of live what's happening with their money that they've lent and progress and things like that. So,
yeah, very cool. Well, you guys are doing an awesome job. And then so real fast, if you do a good explanation of this. So I believe you offer 12% typically on most of these deals, 12, 10.
And it just depends on what you're investing in, right? We've got different ones that we've offered 9% in the past, although real commonly right now it's been about 12%, and it'll go up depending on the amount of money that you invest and I say perceived risk, because ultimately I still offer a personal guarantee on the project. So if one doesn't succeed, we have profits from another one that repay and that kind of thing. And so I offer that because personally, my experience is from what I've seen out there anyway, if somebody's, they don't get what they were promised, they're going to take course of action on that. And so I just offer it from the beginning. Look, here's the guarantee we're going to make. If for some reason this project doesn't go according to plan, we're going to pay you back from this one or one of the other 14 that we have. I think it just makes it's a nice peace of mind for you guys. But two is I already know that's the way it's going to go in the world that we live in. And also I want to make, I would hate to say, oh, I succeeded in these 9 projects. The 10th one you were unlucky enough to invest in, sorry. But I made it rich, right? I'm not that type of person. So if we have something where things don't go according to plan, then we'll make them whole and with their interest and everything like that. And that's what that personal guarantee is. Basically like a blanket that says, hey, you're going to get paid back, whether it's from this project or one of the others. But unfortunately, we haven't had any of these big projects where we've had issues. A lot of times the reason that is because we are selling to institutional groups who are buying the entire thing. They're putting up hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not over $1 million in hard earnest money. So that's a pretty good safety blanket. These guys are not affected by rate changes like the average consumer is. But so, yeah, I mean, the short answer to your question is yes, we have varying different rates and it just depends on your risk tolerance and where you want to be. But regardless, you kind of always get that personal guarantee that we're going to deliver.
Yeah, man, well, it's awesome stuff. I love it. I mean, I've done a lot of real estate and I've been around a lot in the past, and development is something I've never gotten into. So it's mind blowing when I watch you guys talk about, what you do and how you do it. And just, it's crazy because like money is like the least intimidating thing to me. But when you start talking these like 10, 15, 20 million dollar sums and projects you're doing, I do get a little nervous sometimes, but I'm like, man, but at the end of the day, like, it's the same thing, whether it's $10 or whether it's $10 million, it's what's it protected by, it's what's the returns, what's, the guarantee, like you said, the guarantees and everything. And it's a really cool thing. So appreciate everything you guys are doing.
If you choose the right projects, the nice thing about it is that there's like, for instance, this Templeton Gap project that we've raised some funds through Private Money Club, we're annexing and rezoning it and titling it. Right now, the lots are 5-acre lots in the country, but it's surrounded by city for miles in every direction. Right. So we're annexing them into the city, which the city said, yes, hallelujah. We've been trying to get them annexed for 20 years, but none of the sellers would do it. Well, now they're getting older. They're ready to move out. As they're getting ready to move out, we're making them offers, buying the lots, annexing them into the city. Just that simple process of annexation and rezone, instead of it being 1 home per 5 or 6 acres, now we're going to put more homes in there. And now if we aggregate 33 acres, we can now say to whoever it is, DR Horton, another home builder, whoever, we can say, yeah, we're putting 5 units to the acre, or 10 or 15 if we're doing higher density. And now it becomes something that DR Horton or whoever has an interest in buying, because they're not putting 5 homes on it, right? They're putting 250 homes or 300 homes. And so now they can production build something, and the value goes up of the land just simply through that process we take it through. So we might be buying the lots for 10 million, but just this mostly paperwork portion of it takes the value to $20 million in 9 months. And that's because the annexation and rezone, it makes it possible to be used for like a higher and better use. And so increases the value so much more.
Amazing. It really is. It's very cool. Well, keep up the hard work, man. I mean, it's awesome. Thank you for being part of the Private Money Club. Everybody that has been lending to you is just, ecstatic about it. And I love what you're doing. Colleen wrote on here, she loves the update emails that she gets, keeps you in the loop, which is awesome. And that new technology you're coming out with where you can kind of see what's going on with everything. I mean, that's amazing stuff right there.
Yep. It's really handy. So I appreciate your time. I wish I could stay longer. I'm supposed to be meeting somebody for lunch. I'm in the mountain time. So I've got to jump.
I know you only had a few minutes. So thanks for having on. You guys can reach out to Rob through the Private Money Club if you'd like to. If you're not in the Private Money Club yet and maybe just want to talk with them, learn a little bit more before you either join or lend. If you guys just want to, if they want to email me, is that cool, Rob? And I can just introduce you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Christine and Colleen, thank you. And hi, I saw both of you mention us there. And I don't want to ignore anybody that has said anything, but I know you two. Great. Anybody else? Happy to meet you. Thanks for your time. I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, Rob. See you soon, man.
Bye.
And Rob was up in Buffalo with us over the weekend also. It's fun hanging out with him and just kind of, chatting about all those projects he was just talking about and everything. he really does an incredible job with that. So just a couple of the different borrowers I wanted to introduce you all to that are in the Private Money Club. I emailed a few other ones last night, and those are the two that were able and available today to hop on. But, we have a bunch of different borrowers like them inside of there, a bunch of different types of deals. We even have notes within the Private Money Club where you can actually buy mortgages. So let me go ahead and if anybody wants to meet Rob, like I said, just shoot me an email and I'll do a personal introduction to Rob so you can chat with him and see if it's right for you to maybe do some lending with them. So what I wanted to show you now is the Private Money Club itself. So let me just pull that up real quick so you can get a feel for what it is. We got about 10 more minutes here. And does anybody have any questions? So Z said, is the Private Money Club available for Canadians? You can lend money. I mean, Canadians can lend money on US deals. There's no problem with that. We don't have a lot of borrowers in Canada. So, don't join it expecting, if you're in Canada, expecting to network and lend to other Canadians. Right now, it's only in the United States. I'm sure we will eventually expand it. Now, a couple things going on with Private Money Club. You'll notice Private Money Club right now is in beta version. So we've been in beta for about 1.5 years, developing it, understanding what works, figuring out how the technology side of everything works. And a few months ago, we contracted with an IT company to build out the new Private Money Club. And we've been going through that. We actually have 25 of our Private Money Club members that invested in that project and are part of that. And we're having a investor meeting tomorrow evening, actually. With those 25 investors. So we're gonna be talking about updates, what's been going on with Private Money Club, where we are at the development of it. October 14th, 15th, and 16th, we're actually doing a nationwide launch of the new Private Money Club. So, and everyone that invested in it, the 25, they're gonna be there. And we have, I believe, 10 tickets that we're selling as part of our Experience Mastermind / Private Money Club launch. And I believe we have 6 or 7 tickets left. So if anybody wants to join us for the Mastermind and Private Money Club launch in Sundance, Utah, October 14th, 15th, and 16th, then get a ticket because it will sell out and it'll sell out pretty quickly. We just opened up those tickets over the weekend and I believe there's 6 left. And it's going to be incredible. Like what we have planned for that weekend with the nationwide launch. It's like mind-blowing stuff. Chris is kind of comparing to like when Steve Jobs launched the iPhone. It's really fascinating what we're putting together with this thing. And it's going to change the way that money flows and the way that money moves in this country. So if you want to be part of that, join us in Sundance, Utah. But what we have on the screen right here is the Private Money Club as it exists today in beta version. Again, it's just network with like-minded lenders and borrowers. So when you first come on, if you're looking to join, you just go over here. Are you interested in lending? Are you interested in borrowing? Are you just kind of learning the ropes, or maybe you want to do both? So kind of pick what you want to do, and then it'll take you through the process to get signed up for a membership. And then we're gonna have a bunch of deals. So the homepage here, you kind of click on, do you need funds? If so, it's gonna walk you through how to post a deal, how to complete the perfect loan proposal. If you're looking at lending, you can start browsing through all the deals. If you just want to get education, it's right there in the upper right-hand corner. You can start networking and connecting. So this is where you want to go into the member directory and start, if you're a borrower, start saying hi to the lender, start introducing yourself. Hey, I got some deals coming up. I just wanted to say, I've been doing real estate now for 10 years. I'm looking to expand and grow. So I'm looking for private money, and start developing those relationships, because at the end of the day, this is a relationship business. And once you develop those relationships, you can keep the money rolling over and over and over again. And, it becomes lifelong friends. So you can use this right here to connect with other members and message each other. You can shoot out mass messages if you want to blast out a new deal that you have or something like that. You're able to do that through the group messages and messages. And if you're looking to learn, there's a lot of education. So if you click on getting started, we have all the videos that I would recommend starting with. So these are videos that Chris and I put together. What is private money? Different rules for private money lending. What is the perfect loan proposal and why you should use it, whether you're lending and borrowing. Getting your first deal done. So we got some different videos there, so you can start learning the basics of all this. We also do something called the Money Club Mondays webinar every single Monday at 1 Eastern. So this is a live webinar you can join us for every Monday. So make sure you do that. And if you go and you get those books, it should also email you on that link right there. It should also email you the schedule for all of the webinars that we do each week. So you can register for Money Club Mondays and join us every Monday. But you can see we just go through, talk with different borrowers, talk about the deals that they have. We do different trainings. Like I'll talk about, how to find the perfect investor and deal and how to vet them, how to start underwriting deals, the proper way to structure deals, contracts, promissory notes, mortgages, deeds of trust. So on Mondays, we do all this additional training and it's interactive. So you can ask questions. So we do that every single Monday. We also have the perfect loan proposal, the 4-week master classes on here available to you, Money School TV. Money School TV is our once a month. It's a bunch of on-demand videos. This is all included with the Private Money Club, guys. So once you do this, you get a login for the MSTV also. And MSTV is it's a bunch of on-demand videos, but it's also a once a month coaching call. So once a month on Thursday evening, we do a group 2-hour coaching call. And this is only for MSTV and Private Money Club members. And this is where we do in-depth training, question answer. Instead of just me on the screen or me and Chris on the screen, it's everybody on the Zoom. So we all can talk and interact, and the coachings are very, very good. So that's all part of the Private Money Club, all of that education and coaching also. And then we have different tools. So if you're a lender, different things you can do to get your deal out there in front of people. If you're a lender, different ways. If you're looking to buy notes, if you're looking to buy actual turnkey rentals, passive income with funds. So one of the other funds that I wanted to talk about, and if you're in the Private Money Club, one of the private funds that Chris and Andrew have right now is called Cashflow. So if you're interested in Cashflow, shoot me an email. But what Cashflow is it's a fund that's going to pay anywhere from 6 to 10%. Depending on how long you commit to, but it's a very conservative fund. And I'm not going to talk about the specifics of it, but they only lend. It's ran by professionals that have been doing this for 30 years. They're very, very experienced. They lend typically on commercial properties, and they lend at a very low loan to value ratio. So your money's very safe in this private fund. And so in this private fund, what I can do is I can connect you and get you more information on that also. If you're looking to grow your money at 10%, it's an excellent return. And why would you want to grow your money at 10% over the next 3 years? Well, why wouldn't you? The stock market's going to be very volatile. We're going to be going through a lot of craziness in the country, in the markets, in the economy. So, especially in retirement, like if you have an IRA, you need to live on that money. Well, if you invest $1 million at 10%, you now know exactly how much you have coming in every single month. It creates what's called consistent, predictable income for the rest of your life. Let me just give you an example. So if we take $1 million and we let that ride in the stock market, who knows where it's going to go, right? Or if we put it in a CD, there's no money right now, or an annuity, there's no income in it right now. But if I take that $1 million and I invest it at 10% and I divide that by 12 months, I know I have $8,333 a month coming in every single month for the next 3 years, period. So if I was to take that money and I was to put that into the Cashflow fund, for instance, then they're going to pay me a monthly interest, 10% annually paid monthly. So now I have $8,333 a month coming in every single month, consistent, predictable. It takes the stress out of it. I don't know if it's going to be there or not for me. So for the next 3 years, I know I have that money coming in. So little strategies like this that we can do with our money to give ourselves that peace of mind and allow us to do that. So when it comes to the Private Money Club, those are just some of the different things that it offers for you. We also have different services. So if you need any help with any of this, if you want to promote your deal, you can hop on Money Club Mondays. We have contract and attorney services. We have tax services. And then we, of course, have all of our different trainings and webinars, private Facebook group, and everything else that we do. So these are just some different things right now that are in the beta version. Once the real version is launched, you're going to see all of this plus about 10 times more. What we're building into the real version of this when it launches in October is mind-blowing stuff. So get in now, because the Private Money Club to join right now is $997 a year. The price will go up when we launch in October to $1,497 a year. So if you want to get in at $997 a year, I would do so now before the price does go up to $1,497 come mid-October. So with that being said, on Private Money Club, let me see what questions you guys have. So Sean, if you want to get those digital books or anything else that I've been talking about, you can go to that website right there, or you can email me, snaggy@chrisnaugle.com, or whatever email you have for me, guys. snaggy@chrisnaugle.com, and I'll send you whatever it is you need. Or I can connect you with the Capflow Fund. If you want to learn more about that, I can connect you with Jack. I can connect you with Rob and his team at ROI Development. So just let me know how I can help you guys. Or if you have any questions about the Private Money Club, or if you want to talk about infinite banking or self-directed investing, just send me an email. I'll call you and we can get that set up also. Okay. So that's all stuff. This is all stuff that I do all day, every day. My focus is on banking, self-directed IRAs, and the Private Money Club. Okay. Carol said, do you vet the deals that are looking to fund? So we don't vet the deals personally within the Private Money Club. We do kind of take a look at who the lenders are. We do take a look at the deals to make sure they're not just like whack, and we try and help them, make sure the numbers are right. We kind of make sure their perfect loan proposals set up properly, but we don't vet them in the sense that we like guarantee that it's a good deal. So you do need to underwrite the person. You do need to underwrite the deal. But, I'm happy to share with you, hey, these are people like Jack and Rob and John and Lori that we know are legitimate. We know they have a ton of experience. We know their track record is 100% when it comes to paying back investors. Dwight Harrison's been on the Money Club Monday the last couple of weeks as well. Dwight and his partner Brandon and his team, they do an amazing job also. They've done over something like 1,200 of these option properties. They're doing like 1,000 a year right now. It's amazing the amount of volume they're doing in real estate right now. So people like that are in the Private Money Club that have the experience. If you're new to private money lending, maybe start with them. Start with a fund. Start with Jack. Start with Rob, depending on how much you're working with, and kind of get a feeling for the process. What do the contracts look like? How, when you wire the money, what's that look like? And this is all stuff we teach you on those videos and everything, right? You always want to lend to a company, never to an individual. You always want to make sure you send the money to a title or escrow company where they're going to hold the money until the contracts are signed, and then they'll release it properly. So these are all rules that you need to follow in doing private money lending that we teach you in the videos. So you're doing things the right way. So if you need any help with it, I'm happy to guide you along in it. But maybe if you're new, maybe start with some of the experienced investors like Dwight, like Jack, like Rob. And then from there, you can expand out to maybe newer investors where hey, okay, we need to create our own contracts. We need to make sure they're good, but you might get better returns on your money, right? So these are all things that as you become a lender, you learn more and more about, and you develop, what you like lending on. I know what I like lending on right now. What do you like lending on? So you'll develop what you enjoy as well. And that's the same with real estate, right? I mean, everybody's different. Some people love wholesaling. Some people love flips. Some people love rentals. Some people hate rentals. Some people hate flips. Some people like apartment complexes and developing real estate. And so there's different areas of real estate that you can do actively. There's also different areas of real estate that you can do passively. And you guys know what I mean by passive income, right? So for me, when I find a deal that I want to lend on, it might take me an hour. It'll take me an hour to look at the person, have a conversation with them, look at the deal, run the numbers, do my homework, and lend the money, maybe an hour. So to me, if it takes me an hour to do something that I'm going to get income from for the next 8 to 10 to 12 months to 3 years, that's passive income. Okay. I have money coming in every month or every quarter now from my work that I spent an hour doing 2 years ago. Right. So that's passive income. Passive income is when you have money coming in and you're not working for that money. So when it comes to real estate and lending, and especially the Private Money Club, there's so many different ways I can passively invest. There's so many different options for lending. What do you enjoy doing? Like personally for me right now, I would not lend on a deal that's like a multi-million-dollar house flip. That's going to take a year to do, because if the market turns, the profit in that deal could fall out very, very quickly. So things can happen. So to me, I want affordable housing right now. I want quick flips. I want to put my money and get it back quickly. Or I want to do it in a development where, like with Rob, where it's already pre-sold to a big hedge fund or something with Jack, where I know the market that they're building in, and I know that it's in huge demand, and that demand's still going to be there in a year from now. I know it is because I know this market. Or I want to invest in somebody like Dwight, where it's a long-term play, where the cash flow is going to, the real estate market could drop by 40, 50, 60%, and Dwight's deals are still going to cash flow, which means I'm going to still cash flow passively because the money's there. So all these little things like that are things that we want to look at when we're lenders. And depending on what the market's doing, depending on what's going on in the economy, it's going to help me determine what kinds of projects and who I want to lend to when the time is right. But that's the beauty of it, is we have those options. We're not locked into one way or in one way only. We can lend it however we want, whenever we want. So it gives you a lot of different ways to do it right there. So hopefully, Carol, that answers your question. Jessica said, is it best to lend the money from an LLC before you lend in private money club or straight from your infinite banking policy? So Jessica, the only reason you lend from an LLC maybe is for like maybe some asset protection reasons or tax purposes, but there's no reason you have to. So people lend all the time from their personal accounts. You can lend, I mean, from your IBC, yeah, just right to the segregated account. And then from there, you can wire the money to wherever it needs to go immediately. So no reason to run it through an LLC unless you want to, but work with your accountant, your estate planning professional on that. But there's no legal reason why you would need to. Now, you do need to always legally only lend to LLCs or corporate or companies, never lend to an individual, but you can lend from as an individual. David said, can I refer my parents who are not PMC members to the Cashflow? Yeah, David, shoot me an email on that and I'll handle it for you. Okay. I just need to make the introduction the right way. So if you shoot me an email, I will definitely do that. And they do not need to be in the private money club for that. So no worries. All right, cool. All right. Well, we're coming up on the time right now where we need to start wrapping things up. It is optional whether you want to renew or not. Are you familiar with connected investors? Yeah, I'm familiar with connected investors. Connected investors is similar, but when you go down in there, connected investors, there's a lot of corporate stuff. There's a lot of hedge fund money in there. There's a lot of hard money in there. It's not true private money. Private money club is all true private deals, private money, private borrowers, people just like you and me. And we want to kind of keep it that way. But we also provide kind of that community feel. Anybody that's in there right now, I mean, they'll tell you it's like a community. That's like family. And even when we grow, even when we're thousands of people in there, our goal is to keep it that way. So that's something that we're doing behind the scenes. But absolutely, we're going to make it a family. So, all right, guys. Well, I don't see other questions coming through. If you need anything, like I said, reach out to me via email, or you can go to that link right there, get the books and schedule a call with me if you want to chat. Hope everybody has a great day. We will be doing Ask Me Anything at 4:30 today. So join us for that. And we are going to continue back with business building and precious metals. A weekly webinar starts tomorrow again, Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So join us tomorrow, Thursday. Hope everybody has a great day, has a great week. Keep that money moving, keep that money compounding, keep that money making more money. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you. See you later. Bye.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We're putting up tons of them, but I think if you like this one, you'll probably like that video as well. Not only that, I've got a book that I created, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, where we actually show you what the wealthy do in the game they play with money. I want you to have that for free. And if you want to know about all my new videos coming up, click that alert button, actually smash that alert button, and you'll be notified every time we put a new video. So we'll see you on the next episode.